everyone, and welcome to Dead to Rights, the podcast video for the crime genre industry. I'm your host, Donna Carrick. Today we've got a really great show coming because we'll be interviewing Madona Skaff, author of Journey of 1,000 Steps, and a brand new release which just came out in, I believe it was June, which she'll tell us all about. And Madona's a fairly new writer on the crime genre circuit, but she's been highly acclaimed, and I think you're really going to enjoy her work. She's got a different view towards protagonists, and I think you'll find it very interesting. So be sure to stay with us for our interview with Madona Skaff. Before we get to that, I want to thank all of the contributors to A Grave Diagnosis, which is our Carrick Publishing crime anthology that will be coming out in the fall of 2020. The submissions did close on June 1st, and we had just an overwhelming response. So thank you, everyone. These stories are really wonderful, and I think that you're all going to enjoy the finished product. So it's something I think that we can all be proud of. So now, let me introduce to you Madona Skaff. Madona Skaff, welcome to Dead to Rights. How are you today?
Well, I'm fine now that I've connected with you.
Very good. It's a gorgeous sunny day, isn't it?
Oh, I know. Yeah, I'm sure the dog's going to be staring.
Video, right? Really good.
Well, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. So tell me what you're working on.
Well, I've just sent in the last edits for my new, the sequel to my novel, Journey of 1,000 Steps. So it's in this one, my character decides to deal with a triple murder. So
what is the protagonist's name?
Well, the first, her name is Naya. She's a computer expert and she likes to run marathons in her spare time, but she was hit just a few kilometers from the finish line with a severe MS attack. And then after that, while she's recovering, her friend goes missing, so she turns sleuth to find her.
Okay.
You know, what is
the first book in the series called?
Sorry?
What is the first book in the series called?
Oh, it's called Journey of 1,000 Steps. That is the first book?
That is the first one, okay.
That is the first one, and this one is called Death by Association.
Death by Association, they're great titles.
A month or so after she finishes the other book, and now she winds up getting embroiled in a triple homicide that she winds up not really planning to investigate, but just that's how it turns out.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about Naya.
Well, she's got quite a sense of humor, although she seems to tell jokes and people kind of just look at her blankly. And she keeps saying, oh, that's it, I'm not going to tell jokes anymore, but she still continues. They're
in jokes, right? But the in is only her.
Yeah, well, that's right. And she's the type that she's very loyal. Like in the first book, she searched for her friend. And, you know, as all her friends said, well, that made sense, risking your life and stuff for somebody you know. But in this case, it's basically, you know, a stranger. But she has a sense of loyalty. And as I said, she wasn't planning to help. But she goes to his place of work, and there's one of the employees there who's an accountant. And he's all frazzled, can't figure out what's wrong with the accounts. They don't look right. And so she starts out saying, no, I'm just helping him here. I'm not actually going to be doing anything. And she can't help herself. She winds up getting kind of caught up into the web.
Okay. And what is her profession? What is Naya's profession?
She's part owner of a computer security company. Like they do online, doing security, but also like writing apps and things like that. So they're a small group. They're 4 people, like her and her partner, and then 2 employees. Mm-hmm. Basically, you know, they know how to hack into places. That's one skill, I guess you could call it, that
tool she uses. She has the keys, right?
Oh, that's right, she does.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a great series. And who's publishing this?
This is from Renaissance Press. It's a local Ottawa publisher, and they started out originally just publishing local, you know, Ottawa National Capital area, so Ottawa, Gatineau, that kind of area. So,
Renaissance Press, and that's Journey of 1,000 Steps, and the second one is called
Death by Association.
I'm going to buy them. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you.
I'm definitely going to buy them. Are they available Kindle print?
Well, they're through Amazon.
Okay.
And well, Death by Association is, it's just sort of getting finished up. It'll be ready by about mid-May.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, our launch, we were going to have a physical launch at the end of May, so we're going to be doing
And that's not going to happen. And that's
no,
not
it's
going to
not,
happen.
but we're doing a virtual launch the weekend of June 6th to 7th.
Okay. Okay.
So there will be more details. That's still in the, it's not quite decided when, but Renaissance is holding a free conference for writers.
Okay.
Join and either just participate, like there's,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's too late now, I'm not sure. But you can go on their website to see about if you.
Make sure to send me the virtual links because I'll share them for the launch.
Okay, yeah, I'll send them to you. It's a little bit
Yeah.
hard to say them, to
I'm
make.
actually going to air in mid-June, so I'm going to miss your launch with this video, but it makes for a good chance to say to everybody that Madona's books are now ready. Say the titles one more time.
A Journey of 1,000 Steps and Death by Association.
And they feature the protagonist, Naya
Assad, and she's a computer expert who's suffering from MS, but that doesn't really let her slow down.
Good. I like to hear that because you know what? We're all suffering from something. Even
that's
people
right.
who don't look like it. And it's really important to me, for characters to reflect real life. And
that's right.
We've got to have a representation of characters from all walks of life. Every journey is valid, And I love to hear this. Yeah.
Yeah, I do try to make sure that they're all sort of varied. They're not all the same type of people.
Yes, exactly. Not cardboard cutouts, as they say.
Well,
they
no.
sound really fascinating. Now, tell us about your story for the last Mesdames anthology.
Well, that was called Soul Behind the Face.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was inspired by music. So the song that inspired me, the title, you can't help but have that. That's the title. It's a Scorpion song.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be hard rock, but actually, I think anybody who listens to it would like it. And it's about my main character, Lenny. He used to be known as the Great Leonard. He's supposed to be really great at, he's pretending to be a psychic. Is basically a scam. But as he's uncovered, and then he's trying to leave the northern town, it's unnamed, but trying to leave the northern town, he sort of winds up finding, like he gets kind of, let's say, involved with a ghost. I don't want to give away too much of the story, but basically he discovers that the ghost has been murdered.
It's a wonderful story. I found it to be kind of diabolical and twisty.
Well, just a bit.
Yeah. Would you say that that's representative of most of your work, that it's a little bit on the twisty side?
Not really. That's not the only one that's sort of like that.
Okay.
I guess maybe I did have one story where it was in, I can't remember if it was the whole shebang. I think it was in the first one.
And what was the title?
It was called The Bouquet. Because I have two stories in the first shebang and then also two in the second one. And
okay, so let's just pause for 1 second, tell listeners that the Whole Shebang series is a series of anthologies put out by the Sisters in Crime Toronto chapter, of which both Madona and I are members, and Madona has contributed stories to those. Now continue on and tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, well, with that story, as I was saying, he's, the problem is I can't really give away too much. It's called The Bouquet. So if you want to get and read it, and my daughter was always my first reader. She's very good at editing, but she read that story and she stopped, put it down, looked at me, says, "You really need therapy."
My favorite kind of stories are going to
I can't really
respond. Yes.
So I just go with that, because if I say anything, it'll give it away, and I can't. I like the little twists and stuff at the end of it.
And that's The Bouquet. And which of these Sisters in Crime is that one in, the first one or the second one?
I'm not too sure. Can you pause and I can grab it and look?
No, that's okay. I think listeners and readers should look for both of the Whole Shebang books.
Yeah, but I think actually it was in the first one, the Whole Shebang, the first one. I think so. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. That's wonderful. Have your stories appeared elsewhere at this point?
Well, I have the more recent one is called Backbone. It's in an anthology called Nothing Without Us, and that's also put out by Renaissance Press. And in this one, it's all the heroes are disabled, either mentally or physically. And in this case, they are the heroes of the stories, not the sidekicks.
Yeah.
And so Backbone was actually, it's about a young boy who grows up. He's got some, I didn't really specify what thing he has, but he has trouble walking. And so he's a walker since he was a child. And as an adult, he's sort of managing to adjust, but then again, circumstances bring him the wrong way, and he becomes the hero of the story. Again, I can't really tell you what happens.
I know that would ruin the story. No spoilers here on
well, that's the problem. I mean,
but I do sense an underlying theme of challenged ability. Is this something that has touched your family?
Well, actually, myself, I've been diagnosed with MS several years ago. Okay. In fact, that's how Naya was born, because I've written several types of novels, and I've sent them out. I've had some nice comments, but nobody was ever interested. And like I've actually written science fiction. I've written mystery. I've even written a Star Trek novel, and they looked at it but turned it down. So then I was thinking, like, this is getting really bad. Like, I've written short stories. They've been published in small press, but I really want to be a novelist. So I thought, well, there's that old adage of write what you know.
Madonna, you've just encapsulated in just a few sentences something that almost every new writer struggles with, and that's finding what is really your niche. It could be anything. It could be truly bizarre. It could be very ordinary and very common to the human condition, but finding your niche. And once you've found your niche and a character, a heroine, if you will, that reflected what comes from your inner self and your heart, all of a sudden you had something that was accepted and even promoted, and there you go.
Well, I am, it's funny, I figured, okay, this is the last one. I'm not going to write any more Naya adventures. And then almost in the same second, I came up with an idea, just like as a flash. So I'm in fact working on a third book. So this time she'll be dealing with a cold case. So.
Okay, I like it.
I should also mention I have one of the older books that I sort of rewrote it and updated it a bit, and it's a near science fiction novel, and that has also been just accepted by Renaissance Press.
Excellent.
It won't be out till next year. That one's called Shifting Trust, but
Shifting Trust.
That later.
I like that. You've got some really great titles. How do you come up with your titles?
Well, what's so funny is I have a writing group, and I used to have this one member, and he was the perfect person, like, okay, John, I need a title, and he'd come up with it. But last few, I have no idea how I've been coming up with them myself. Like Death by Association, it just sort of goes with the story. Like
it's easier. It's easier. Yeah. It starts to come right out of the work. To me, titles are so important, and this is probably just a personal thing. It may not relate to anybody else. But my late sister and I, when we were kids, like I'm talking, even preteens, even 8, 9, 10, in that bucket, we used to walk down the street together and bounce titles off each other. And we were both fascinated with, I guess what we now call young adult. We didn't call it that then. My parents were working class people. They had no time to read. And we did nothing but read because we lived in Saskatchewan. We had 2 channels and one was French. So,
well, that's the same thing in Ottawa.
So you can imagine that the librarian at my junior high used to just laugh. He was an older man, and every day I'd be walking out with 3 books that I would read that evening, and he would just laugh at me. So we loved books and we loved titles, my sister and I. We'd bounce these titles off each other. So I am fascinated with titles, and when they're good, when they're really reflective, and when they're not just derivative of other people's work, that's when they really speak to me, and they'll make me pick the book up almost as much or maybe even more than the cover. You don't have any covers handy, do you?
Actually, I do. I have, the actual...
You came prepared. Wow.
This is the first one, Journey of 1,000 Steps.
Oh, that's wonderful. Tilt it just a little bit forward so that it doesn't hit the light so much. That's wonderful. That's terrific. I think our listeners can see that now. Thank you.
Okay, and then I also have the cover, because I don't have any hard copies yet, of the next one. Is that good?
Ooh, I like it.
And it's the same model, and her name is Dana Fradkin. She's an actress and and a model, and so she's also, I don't know if Fradkin might sound familiar to you. She's the daughter of
She's the daughter of Barbara Fradkin.
also
If you're not familiar with Barbara Fradkin, please look her up because her series of novels are exceptional, and her characters are really, really deeply human. Barbara Fradkin, please look her up.
Yeah, no,
I have to plug whenever it occurs, you know.
that's it. Well, that's why I decided, plug her as the daughter of
Yes, yes. And what's her first name again?
a Dana.
Dana Fradkin is the model
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
cover. Excellent.
She's really great.
Yeah, those are great covers and great titles. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
And
actually,
sorry?
I was going to say, actually, for the covers, when I was signing the first book contract, because it says in the contract that I don't have a say in the cover, and the first thing they say to me after I sign, well, what scene would you like in the cover? So it was really great. And then I had to find a model. And I remember one day I opened up Facebook, and for some reason, one picture. So I was saying, because the Renaissance Press, the publisher there, they said, well, what do you have in mind for the cover? A couple of scenes in mind, and then I needed to find a model. And one day I opened up Facebook, and for some reason, like it sort of zoomed in on this picture of a woman, and I'm looking at her. I said, "Oh my God, that's my character. That's Naya." And it turned out that was Barbara Fradkin's daughter.
You had a character in mind, and then you discovered a model online that looked like it represented your character perfectly, and that was Dana Fradkin.
No, well, that's right. And so was really great. Like she did the first book, and I was thinking if we could just coordinate, because she's an actress, she lives in Toronto, and she travels around a lot. So it's always sort of a challenge of when are you in Ottawa passing by? And then we sort of, between us and our publisher, Nathan Frichette, he's also the photographer.
Okay.
The picture on the first book, I have to just tell you, like this is, I don't know if you can see that one.
Journey of 1,000 Steps, yeah?
Yeah, so she's supposed to be crawling through an air shaft. And I'm thinking, well, that's the scene I have in mind. And so basically what we did was we set her up on my kitchen table, actually. Very upset, like, why is she out there? I'm not allowed up there. And then he photoshopped her into...
Yeah, you have to be creative, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So I have to, wonderful, I'm so happy with the covers. I remember years ago I went to a convention, and one of the panels was, I can't remember what the whole topic was, but what I really remember was every author was complaining about their book covers. And I, of course, published at the time, and I'm thinking, oh, that can be so sad. Like, it'll be a horrible book cover, and so happy. I couldn't.
You may not have had all the tools that we have now, too. I mean, the technology has changed so much, like you referenced Photoshop. And I'm not highly skilled at any of them, including what I use for these podcasts, but I'm learning. And it's sort of, I hit a milestone birthday, and so I set myself out to learn to use the Adobe products. And they are fun once you start to get the hang of each little twist, but they're challenging.
Yeah. It is a bit of a challenge. I mean, I personally like to just push a button, doesn't work, I call for help.
Yeah. But you look great. I mean, we're using Zoom for this. We're using Zoom technology for these interviews. Yeah. And for our listeners, doesn't Madonna look great? You come through perfect clarity. It's terrific.
Oh, thank you.
Anyway, any last tips for our listeners who may be looking to pick up a pen?
To pick up, sorry?
A pen.
Oh, for writers, future writers?
Yes.
Well, just write what you want. Don't worry about what's popular, because by the time you finish writing it, what was popular then is going to have changed. So just write for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best thing to do.
Exactly. I always believe that if there's something that you like, if you read what you like to read, if you write what you like to read, you're going to find an audience at some point. It may take a while, like you may have to find your voice and find your niche and all those good things, but it's going to work because there's somebody else out there who likes what you like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually very proud because several people have made comments about the first book, and they have enjoyed it. And a lot of them like asked me, "Well, do you happen to have MS?" And I said, "Well, that's so good the way you do it. You're not like preaching. It's all just part of it."
It's just coming from your daily
Yeah.
experience. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That's
and
what I
that's
like.
just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And then the
exactly. It comes
second,
out naturally, organically. Yeah.
well, in the second book, I also decided to give Naya a dog for no particular reason, except for I have a dog that's my, little inspiration, or she's always near me when I'm.
Mhm.
So that's something, so you incorporate stuff like to new writers, incorporate stuff from your own life, change
Yeah.
it. Nobody's
Yeah.
going to know.
Oh, yeah,
Told you
absolutely.
so, you know.
So, a very top writer said one time in a workshop I was in that if you're writing a character, a series character in particular, there should be no question about that character that you can't answer. Now, that doesn't mean that every little fact and every little detail gets onto the page,
Yeah.
because it doesn't. But you have to be prepared to answer it. And if you can't, stop a beat and think,
Yes.
because you should know what they like to drink. You should know how they like to part their hair, what their favorite color. And these are just all superficial things, but going much, much deeper. How would they react in this situation, that situation, another
Yes.
situation? Because they've got to be real to you, or they'll never be real to your reader.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
And
the
if you know
best.
these things, you don't have to look them up on index cards.
Well, that's right. And I mean, whenever I'm writing, that's usually how it starts. I'll get a vague idea, and then I'll have an idea of a character. And then I don't put anything down on paper until I've gone over it and over in my head. So once the character's alive, I basically sit down and take dictation.
Yes,
What
yes,
it
I like the
is.
way you said that. You sit down and take dictation from your character. Very
Oh,
character-driven works are the ones that just endear themselves to readers, and they're the ones that are lasting.
right.
For me, a character appears in the doorway, and it's a question of what is he or she going to do?
Well,
You know,
that's right. Yeah.
what are they doing here? How did they get here, and why?
Well, sometimes too, I want them to do something and they don't want to. And oh my gosh, I mean, you sit there working
Yeah.
on trying to figure out, trying to persuade them to do it. And
Yes,
you're not going to
yes.
win, usually.
You've got to find the right situation
Yeah,
in which they could do that.
that's
Otherwise,
right.
it's too out of character. But if you twist their motivation this way or that and look at it, you can find a
Mhm.
way usually to path them through.
Yeah,
Anyway,
but
Madonna,
yeah.
thank you very much for joining us on Dead to Rights,
Well,
and
this
it's
was lots
wonderful
of
to meet
fun.
your work. Tell us your book titles one more time.
Okay, the first one is called Journey of a Thousand Steps, and that's available in hard copy and also electronically. And then the second one is Death by Association. At the moment, it's just available electronically, but soon will be in print.
And that's going to be in May, most likely, right?
The last weekend of May, first weekend of
Perfect. So by the time this episode comes live, you'll
it
be able
should
to
be.
search and find this book. Wonderful.
And I'll have
Thank you.
details on my website, which I'll send you the links for everything.
And what is your website?
It's simple, madonascaff.com.
Excellent. Thank you. I'd like to thank Madona Skaff for joining us here on Dead to Rights, the podcast video. And our thanks, as always, go out to Ted Carrick for the wonderful theme song, Eyes of Gold, that we enjoy bringing to you weekly. And thanks, of course, to all of our listeners, readers and writers alike, who come to learn about the crime genre industry and get to know the authors. Thanks so much. Next week, we'll be kicking off season 4, I believe it is. We've now got 3 complete seasons. And next week, we're going to bring you Joan O'Callahan, and she'll kick off season 4 for us of Dead to Rights, followed by Rick Morfina, Maureen Jennings, Barbara Fradkin, Nate Henley, to name but a few of the authors who will be coming to you in season 4 of Dead to Rights. So stay with us. That's a really terrific lineup. And thanks to all the authors who joined us for season 3. It was a really good season. We're proud to have interviewed all of you and to have brought you to your readers. Thanks again. See you all next week.
dusty road, a man alone. His vital signs go on hold, and I don't know what you've been told, but the years have turned my eyes gold. And I told you what you told me, we'd never be in the same boat for free. Yet it rides, let it ride.